Welcome to Creating the Ultimate Internet Presence. My name is Chad Erickson. I'm going to be sharing with you some information that I've had a chance to glean in this great digital marketing world over the past 19 years. Information that's going to help you be extremely successful in your practice as a doctor and find ways to truly grow. Let me give you a little background on who Advice Media is as we talk about how you can create your ultimate internet presence and kind of what separates us from everybody else. First of all, as a company, we're going into our 20th year of being experts in this field. We started out back in 1998, and that time, the reality is that Google didn't even exist. So we've seen a lot of changes in the industry over that time, which has been great. It's been fun. That's what keeps this whole area very, very exciting. We work currently with over 1,800 medical practices. So we know what we're doing. This is not our first rodeo. We totally understand the challenges that you face as an individual practitioner. We recognize that you, similar to us, are a small business owner. Most of you, some of you are part of a large group, but most of you are small business owners worrying about your payroll, your employees, the hirings, the firings, the marketing, and all those aspects are critical to your success. Our goal is that we can become a true partner with you and take for lack of a better term, the burden that you might feel from your marketing and really help you capture more patients into your practice that will help you grow and achieve your goals. We want this to be something you don't have to worry about. So with our expertise, again, of working with so many practices, we know patient mentality. We also know the doctor offices. We know how your schedules work and the conflicts that you have and how to work around those. And we've also sent tens of thousands of new patients to our doctors over that time period. One of the other things that's quite interesting is that people say all the time, "Oh, Google's so big, you can't get hold of them. They seem like the bully on the block," and that might be true. But the reality is that we are a Google preferred partner, and because of that status, we actually are able to have a way to call them and get great information from them. And I'm actually going to share some valuable data with you today that you would not have otherwise because of that partnership that we have and that status that we've achieved because of what we do. We're also part of the Inc. 5000. We've been on that for the last 2 years. What that means is that we have great sustained growth internally, and we're doing things the right way. There's a lot of companies that can come and go quickly, but when you're growing the right way and you're recognized in that way, it's very, very important. We're also the 13th fastest growing company in the state of Utah, and that's a significant accomplishment as well. Utah, whether you know this or not, has actually become one of the hottest tech beds in the entire country. It's actually been dubbed as the Silicon Slopes. And there's a ton of talent and a lot of businesses that are coming here because of the talent that exists here. So that is a very significant accomplishment as well, one that we're very proud of with our entire team. Now, many of you probably feel this way as you kind of see this slide here where it says, "Okay, Google, I'm feeling yucky." And what we're really seeing is, and then hearing from our doctors is they're saying, "Gosh, I feel like everyone's asking, Dr. Google this, Dr. Google that," and trying to find that information. And they come into my office and they feel like they're experts on everything. And that can be viewed in two different ways. One is you could look at it as a medical provider and think, that's very frustrating. I'm the expert here. Why are they asking Google these things? Or secondly, recognize that they're in your office. And the fact that you got them in there is half the battle. Now they're coming to you because of your expertise. So you have an opportunity to really reset the expectations. So it really become your mindset because people are not going to stop. They're going to pull out their phone. They're going to be online searching. They're going to find ways to help them in their decision-making process. And part of what Google shared with us is some of these next few slides of why the patients are doing this and why that patient mentality has shifted so much. Here's a fun little slide that I think illustrates this even more and adds some humor to this. It's from the Wizard of Id and says, "Well, doc, I Googled my symptoms and I think I have appendicitis." To which the doctor replies, "Very well, I'm going to Google how to perform your operation." So some light humor, that goes along with that as well. But here's some information that blew me away that Google shared with us. As you think about the billions of searches that happen on Google every single day, every month, every year, 1 in 20 searches online today is related to healthcare. That is massive. And so you think about, boy, where am I positioned in that? Am I positioned in a way that's going to help me find more patients and grow my practice? Or am I kind of being left behind by those that are quicker, more agile, that understand it more, and are investing a little bit more in the digital marketing side to attract that and to grow that? Some of you have probably seen, wondered, how this new doctor that just came out of school 2 years ago, how is he way above me in the search rankings? Well, because he or she is paying attention to it. They're putting a concerted effort into that, recognizing that's what's happening. You think about 1 in 20 searches is healthcare related. That's massive. So what is the patient mentality today? Well, first of all, health consumers want things now. It's this immediacy, and we're all wired the same way. It doesn't matter whether it's health or not. You think about it, we all have this powerful computer, if you will, in our pocket. The fact that we can pull out our phone and search for information and have it come back in the snap of your fingers is amazing. I saw somebody on a plane recently complaining because the internet speed wasn't fast enough, and I felt that way myself at times too, but I heard this person just really abusing the attendant, and I'm thinking, wow, how times have changed that we're, here we are with a device that can actually, on a flight, communicate somewhere else and give us all this information, keep us connected. So good or bad, what we've created is definitely this urgency or this desire to have things now. The second part of this, though, is probably one of the most important pieces, and that is that health consumers want to feel empowered. Now, what I mean by empowered is that they want to be part of the decision-making process. So whether they're coming to you because they're not happy with part of their body, right? It might be their smile, their skin, their body, their hair, their veins in their legs, their heart's got problems, whatever. All these issues are feeling it. And they want to feel like they're part of the decision-making process, so they can help describe that. So as they go online and they're searching for that, they're saying, that feels like what I've got. That might be it. So they want to be a part of that. The difference is if I take my car into the shop to have it worked on, I feel powerless. I don't know what they're talking about all the time. I don't know what's wrong with the car. I don't feel it. Maybe it feels like it's not riding real well or whatever, but I really don't know what's going on. I could go in there and they could be like, Chad, oh my gosh, we looked under the hood and boy, your flex capacitor's out and that's going to be a couple of $1,000s. I'd be like, oh my gosh, that sounds terrible. We better get that taken care of. I don't know. So again, with our bodies though, we want to be empowered. So understand again, that's part of that mentality. That's why they're searching. That's why when they ask you a lot of questions, they're coming from a place where they just want to be part of that process. So you get to help steer them. So hopefully you don't see it as a negative and you recognize this can really be a positive. Lastly is that it has to be easy. The experience has to be simple. When they come to your website, is it easy to find your phone number? Is it easy to find a contact form? Is it easy to find before and after photos or videos or testimonials or the information about the procedure that they're looking for? If it's difficult, they're going to go somewhere else. If they're still having to pinch and pull on your website because it's not mobile responsive, they're going to go somewhere else. It's a frustrating experience. They're having to dig all over, like, I can't find this. Where is this? I'm driving to the office and I can't find the address. That's frustrating. So it has to be very, very simple. And so that's a lot of it. Now, the other part that comes in is the emotional aspect that people look at and what helps them to make those buying decisions. So I put this slide up here that talks about best versus mediocre. Let me tell you where this came from. I was at a conference not too long ago, and I had a doctor who approached me, and he said, we got into a conversation. He said, Chad, he said, you know what, I'm the best Botox injector in my entire town. And somebody might be saying, well, that's kind of arrogant. Maybe. I don't take it that way. Honestly, someone says they're the best. I like it. He said, look, he said, Chad, I inject more than anybody else. I have the best results in my area. I love it. I've been trained by the best. It's whatever. I'm like, great. So that actually wasn't a turnoff to me. Frankly, I'd rather go to someone that says they're the best as opposed to someone that says, yeah, I get pretty good result, right? So anyway, here's this doctor saying he's the best. And I said, okay, great. So tell me some of the issues that you're faced with. What can I help you with? He said, well, I just don't have my schedule as full as I would like it to be. I said, understandable. I said, tell me some things you're doing to market your practice. And asked him several questions and went back and forth and got a good understanding of what he was doing. I said, well, as we get started and kind of let me take a look at this now, and with that background, let me take a look here. Pull up your website. So I pulled up the doctor's website, and within just a few seconds, I looked back up at him and I said, Doc, I said, I know what the problem is. And he said, well, what? He said, you haven't looked at it for very long. I said, I didn't need to. I said, I've been on your website for just a few seconds here, and your website told me in those few seconds, you're mediocre. He was kind of shocked. He's like, what? I'm like, Doc, you just got done telling me you're the best at what you do, the best injector, the best results. I've been on your website for less than 10 seconds, and I'm telling you, your website just told me you're mediocre. It says that you're out of date. You can keep up with your training. It tells me subconsciously, maybe you use rusty needles. I don't know. It doesn't look modern. It doesn't give me any emotion of confidence in what you're doing. And the fact is that the people are motivated emotionally. You have to have an emotional connection. Pictures do that. Pictures change body chemistry literally and what people are looking for. And your website is giving me the wrong emotions about you. So even if I'm a word of mouth referral from somebody I really like and trust, I now have doubts. I'm having second thoughts about whether or not I want to come see you, whether or not I want to call you. I might say on, but marketing numbers have shown that you have 2.9 seconds to make an impact, a meaningful impact, or they're going to go somewhere else. So you got to emotionally connect. So now I'm going to do a little experiment with you as this audience listening today. I'm going to put up here on the screen 6 different websites. And I'm going to give you just a few seconds to let me know which of these websites you would go to. All right, so here we go. You get just a few seconds to look at these, and you're going to make your determination off of what you see, which of these sites you would go to based on what you see here. All right, where would you go? I can tell you emphatically, because I've done this numerous times, it's always 5 and 6. Always. So why do I know that, and why is it always 5 and 6? Well, let's back up here just a little bit and look at this again. On these 6 different websites, the top left one, here's someone that's getting shot. Now, we've found that people watch videos on this later on, but you don't want to lead with that. People aren't looking for pain, they're looking for the end result. The second one is leading with the product. While you might want to sell product, that might be something you do well, that's not what you want to lead with. The third one is just a hot mess. Again, someone getting injected, it's not the right message. They got a picture that's leading with the machine. It's like, if you don't care about your machine, you may have spent a lot of money on that, but so what? What's the end result? What's that emotional connection end result going to be? The bottom one just looks old and outdated, and then you've got the other 2. So you may think, well, Dad, you cherry picked these. No, I didn't actually. These all came off of either page 1 or page 2 results in the same search. That's the reality. So you're going to have a great, varying degree of how websites look. Does it always impact search results? Not necessarily, but it can. But more importantly, are you getting to the second part of that, which we're going to talk about the 2 aspects of why you have this. So again, 5 and 6 now, there's just a beautiful image. And this will be your style. Don't misinterpret that. Just because the one might be dark or the other one's very masculine, you find the right style for you. But again, it's beauty, it's imagery that really transforms the chemistry that becomes so important. So I'm going to take you through now 7 steps of really improving your digital marketing strategy. And now that we have the foundation we've talked about of that emotional connection, understand the patient mentality, and 1 in 20 searches being healthcare related, we go to these 7 steps. We have spent a lot of time at Advice Media of understanding what are the steps to helping someone be successful online. Understand that everyone has different needs, a different vision, different goals of what you'd like to accomplish, but there are certain pieces that are consistent. They just matter. Recognizing that, yes, Google is going to make over 1,000 changes to their search algorithm every single year that's going to impact things. At the end of the day, if you can follow these 7 items here, you're going to be successful online. So first one is that, create a great website experience, mobile, emphasis on mobile there. Establish your local SEO strategy. SEO stands for search engine optimization. Third is develop reputation management, a strategy that works. Building social media that's engaging and consistent is number 4. And then using effective content and videos. This is getting into what we call advanced search engine optimization. So those first 4 are really that foundation. We refer to it kind of as our power suite as doctors follow that process. And then we get into more of the advanced SEO. And then boosting your ROI, in case you're wondering, it's return on investment, with paid search using pay-per-click. Google AdWords is another term for it, or SEM, search engine marketing. And then lastly, shameless little plug here, but hire the best marketing company to do this for you. And of course, Advice Media is right there and ready to help you. So looking at these product offerings, we staggered these because when you look at the very first one, you need a good website. Not just a good website, you need a great website. That good website is going to help. But if you look and you're like, oh my gosh, my website really stinks. Well, we need to help you. We need to have a website that works. You don't have to spend a fortune on it though. That's the real misconception today, and I'll talk about that. Next is that local directory marketing. That local directory is critical. This is the foundation of everything that happens. With every website that we have, and I'll get into this in more detail, we actually are making each of our doctors have this piece. It's foundational to everything that you do. It's simple, but it's critical. Reputation management then is the next part, then the social media, then again the advanced SEO. Those are the building blocks. That's the progression that we always take our doctors through. Some of you might jump immediately to saying, I want all those in the advanced SEO. Some might say, I just want the bottom one and I'll grow from there. We're going to help you fit what meets your needs and your budget. So websites that work. I ask the question often is, what is the purpose of your website? And the answers always vary. Somebody will say, well, it's to educate. It's to let people know about my credentials. It's to talk about the things that we do. And you hear that over and over again. It's like, those are all important, and I'm not discounting those. But what's the real purpose, the real reason that you have a website? It's very simple. It's to make you money. That's it. It's to make you money. So you need to have, again, that great website that's going to make you money and that works. And your website has to have 2 functions that work with it. The first one is patient generation. That's everything that takes place to drive traffic to your website. And the second one is patient conversion. This means that when someone gets to your website or your social media or your other marketing aspects, does it have the conversion pieces? Are people motivated to pick up the phone and call, chat, text, fill out a form, whatever it takes to make sure that you're getting them converted? And I recognize that conversion happens at multiple levels. Excuse me. You'll have one level of calling the office, and the office has to do their part to get them into the office. So there are various conversion steps, but this one is very, very important. And again, something that we control on our end is making sure that we're getting them converted over, for you. Now, in case you're not aware and living in a bubble, but mobile search has taken over in the last few years and is actually more popular than desktop search. This happened back in 2015, and now we're seeing, on average, our doctors are 65 to 70% of their traffic on a monthly basis is coming in from a mobile device. I don't have any predictions of how much more it's going to grow. We're still seeing people on their desktop computers or their laptops, so that's still happening. But again, the fact that more people are on mobile is important. And I put two terms up here. One is UX, the other is UI. And that stands for user experience and user interface with your website. And you're going to hear more and more about those terms. So I want to make sure you're familiar with that. Again, UX and UI. Those refer to how does someone, what's their experience when they're on your website? Again, going back to that, is easy to use. Can I find the information I'm looking for quickly? And the user interface is closely related with it. Is the navigation simple? Do I have to click around a lot to find what I'm looking for? Yeah, it used to be that you wanted short websites, everything above the fold. Well, not the case anymore. We have become so accustomed to scrolling. You think about the news sites that you go to and you'll scroll down for content. You think about Instagram or Facebook, which most of us use on a regular basis. And as we're very accustomed to scrolling down and reading information. In fact, we'd rather scroll and take in content in chunks as opposed to clicking unless we really want something and going in deeper. So again, making sure that user interface is simple, it can be done with one finger and a glance. So that's part of how that functions. Now, talking about how you must have a mobile responsive website, I mentioned that earlier, and what that means again is that your website is really device agnostic, meaning it doesn't care what device it's on. It can work on a 5K monitor with super high resolution, and the images still look crisp. The fonts look amazing. It also can work on a desktop, a laptop, a tablet device, or a phone, and regardless, it just adjusts automatically to make sure that, again, that user experience and user interface are really being taken into account on that, so that we're maximizing, once again, that patient generation and patient conversion. So those are all there. Again, it doesn't have to be difficult, it doesn't have to be expensive. That's really the misnomer that's out there, but it has to be done right. There are a lot of companies that can build websites, but do they understand the patient mentality? Do they understand the conversion elements? And if you haven't done so, pull up your own website, take a look at it, and see what's there. And it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, I don't even have a call to action, my phone number or my forms. I need to really get those in place. Now, moving into our second item again is this local SEO, also referred to as citations. Citations are referring to your name, your address, and your phone number, which is commonly referred to as your NAP score. NAP, again, name, address, and phone number. And this is something that Google evaluates, and they're looking for consistency amongst your citations on these various websites that are out there. And these websites I'm referring to are powerful directory sites that really can drive a lot of traffic to your website. It might be Yelp or Yahoo Business, or Bing Business, or Google, White Pages, Yellow Pages, Foursquare, Merchant Circle. You might not think much about them, but they actually play a very critical role in your local search engine optimization, the way that you're going to show up in the Google Map listings, and the way that Google really appreciates your website and your message. If you don't pay attention to this, they actually will penalize you. Conversely, when you pay attention to it and make sure this is cleaned up and consistent, they will actually reward you. So it's important. Ran this for a doctor not too long ago, and we ran this report and pulled up information, and it was all over the board. She had all kinds of errors going on, alerts and different phone numbers and different addresses. And let me illustrate to you what Google sees. How does this, as their spiders go out and crawl the web, what happens to them? Well, here's how her listing should have looked. It should have been her name right there, which is normal. But then the next listing came in, and suddenly it wasn't Beth Como MD, but it was Beth MD Como, and then it was the phone number was wrong, and then another one came in that was Como, Beth, MD, and the phone number was wrong again. So the only thing that was working on here was the address. That was it. So anyways, it's really kind of a messy situation there when you see that. But it becomes really the foundation for what you do. That local search engine optimization is so critical. As I mentioned earlier, we actually include this service. We actually clean this up for our doctors. We have a tool that does that. We've invested heavily in that, and it's a huge deal. So everybody that signs up with us gets this because everyone needs it. I could go into reasons why it's so backwards, but just understand that it's almost universal that people have messed up citations, particularly if they've ever changed the name, moved addresses. It's going to be all over and we clean it up for them, make that happen because we recognize that is foundational. You want to send a message of consistency to your prospective patients. But this is interesting. There was a survey that was conducted by Moz, who's a well-known SEO group, asking different companies like ours, who are really experts on search engine optimization, how important this is for local search to make sure you're paying attention to citations. And 45% of those polled, of those SEO experts, said that these citations play a very important role in SEO. So very important, 45% of them. Well, what about the other 55%? Well, the other 55% actually said it plays a critical role. So 100% of SEO experts have come back and said it either plays a very important or critical role to your search engine optimization and the way that you are perceived online. So again, this is a critical piece and something that you need to pay attention to. We have a tool that we can actually run a report for you and help you see that. Happy to do that for you so you understand what you're up against and then talk about ways that we can help you correct that. Next is this reputation management. And I could ask you right now, how many of you have received a bad review online? And I've found that it's pretty much 99% of doctors out there have received a bad review at one point or another. And if you haven't, you will. That's the world that we live in. This is a growing area. People want to leave a review. They have opinions. They want to share them with others, and they're not shy about doing it. And you're also running into some who are cynical, and they're going to leave a really negative review. But you can combat this, and we're going to talk about how to really strengthen your presence online to make sure that this is working extremely well for you. So first of all, if you're not managing your reviews and thinking about this with an active strategy, I can tell you that somebody else is. And the only thing worse than a negative review is the one that you do not know about. I give this presentation all over the country, and I'll ask doctors, I'm like, how many of you go online weekly and just type your name in to see how you're coming up? There's always a handful of doctors in every single class that say, yeah, I just type my name in every week and look. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what a waste of time. They don't know that there are tools out there that will actually scan for them and notify them each and every time there's a good or bad review online and save them countless hours. Plus the fact that when they're searching for those and seeing those and clicking on it, they're actually adding to that where Google's like, oh, somebody must like this negative review. We're going to keep showing it. So not a good strategy. But it becomes a worry. I'll tell you, I had a doctor that came to me, and because I get asked all the time, like Chad, you know, I have a bad review. What do I do now? And I have this doctor that came to me. I'd known him for a number of years, and his wife as well. And we were at a conference together, and we were out for dinner, a nice dinner, and we're talking, and they had warned me ahead of time, said we really want to talk about this really bad review that we've received, and need to chat about this and figure out how do we address this and take care of this this issue and see if you've got any insights for us. And so I did. I got it. The review was actually left on a website called Ripoff Report, which Ripoff Report is like the worst of the worst places. There's a special place in hell for people that go and leave reviews on Ripoff Report. It's meant for the worst of the worst people in the entire world. But this patient had done it, and I could tell, and I read this thing, and I'm like, person's crazy. I mean, and we've all read the crazy review before. I mean, I shop on Amazon all the time. I read the 1-star reviews. I read the 5-star reviews. So I see them, and you can tell which ones really just look falsified or just someone has an axe to grind or someone's just kind of nuts. And I read this one. I'm like, the person's crazy. And I didn't even know the situation. So I got talking with the doctor and his wife. And they informed me that, like, Chad, you know, we didn't even do some of the procedures that she's talking about. You know, what do we do? And I said, you know, honestly, I said, I read it. I said, here's what you do in this case. I said, you do nothing. I said, this review is old. It's been out there for over a year now. So, trying to bring that up right now is not going to help. The fact is that on all the other major places, you have outstanding reviews, 5-star reviews. People love you. They love your work. They love your office staff. You're doing a great job. This is one that you should just leave alone completely. Don't touch it. Don't talk to them. Don't click on the link. Just leave it alone, and you're okay. Just keep doing great work, and you'll be just fine. And they said, okay, but the doctor's wife said, Chad, it just feels so personal. It's an attack on my husband, who I love. And I'm like, I get it. But just Carol, I said, Carol, just leave it alone. And she's like, okay. So in agreement on that, we're going to leave this alone. Fine. 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from Carol. Carol, she said, Chad, I need to talk to you. I said, oh, okay, Carol, what's going on? She said, well, you know how we talked about that bad review online and you told us to leave it alone? I said, yes. Well, I went online and I tried to create this fake persona in my email, and mind you, Carol's like in her 70s, and I'm like, okay, Carol. And she said, well, I didn't really cover up my tracks very well like I thought I had. And then I went on to Ripoff Report and I left a comment on this one saying, I don't know what she's talking about. I've been to this doctor for years and he's fantastic and got great results, yada, yada. I said, and she said, well, that person that left that review recognized it was me, wrote a bad review on that, and then she's now taken that bad review she put there and she's now taken it and posted it on every review site on the web. Oh, my heart sank. And I'm like, Carol, why? She's like, I don't know. It just was so personal. I couldn't leave it alone. I said, okay. I said, what do we do now, Chad? What do we do? And I said, Carol, I said, I hate to say this, but you're screwed. And she's like, what? I'm like, Carol, it's going to take thousands and thousands of dollars and hours and work to try to now supplant that bad review, those bad reviews onto secondary pages and get enough positive reviews to cover up those other ones. I'm like, this is a huge, huge problem. We were able to work at it for a long time, but it cost them close to $50,000 for the extra websites we were doing, the PR. That doesn't include what they're trying to do through their attorneys as well to work on this. So it can be a big deal. And looking at that, it really, really matters of what you're doing. So what do you do? How do you combat this? How do you get these great reviews, and how do you make sure this doesn't happen to you? Well, first of all, just do a great job and make sure that you're paying attention to your office staff as well. I've seen a lot of bad reviews come across for people because the doctor does great work, has great bedside manner, takes great care of the patients, but the office staff are rude, they're inconsiderate, there's a number of things they do, and people are like, oh my gosh, this is just very unprofessional. So those are one of the major things that I see. So you need to be paying attention to your office of what's happening in there. But you also just need to have a solid strategy, and a strategy that does essentially 3 things. And we have a tool that does this called our Review Power tool. The way that it works is, first of all, it notifies you of every good and bad review that takes place online. Secondly, is that it helps to mitigate potentially negative reviews that would be left about you. The way that this works is that we recommend that 3 times a week minimum that you're sending out an email to patients that you have treated during the week. And we actually help you set up these predefined emails, template emails, if you will. And they can vary. You might have one that's for maybe a surgical, patient, one for non-surgical. If it's dentistry, it could be, maybe your cosmetic dental cases and big cases versus your general, regular checkup patients. So the messaging just varies depending on who you're seeing. But again, having them already done, it's a process. Then some of your office, a few times a week, will take email addresses from those who come in. They copy and paste those in and then send out those emails. As they send out that email and the people receive it, the first question that it asks them is, it says, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your experience with Dr. So-and-so? And if the patient clicks on anything that is a 7 or lower, then that person is immediately, given a form and says, thank you, please let us know how we could improve. And as they do that, now that person has a chance to vent. And the office is now notified that, wow, we have an unhappy person here. And you should respond. You should absolutely, call them, email them, let them know that, oh my gosh, thank you for letting us know. This is not what, this is out of the ordinary. We're looking to make this right. What can we do to make this up to you? And if you'll do that and take that approach on a very proactive, basis, people will appreciate that. They'll appreciate that you care, that you read their information, that you want to make it better. That's the majority. Now, if somebody really has an axe to grind, they're going to do it, right? They're going to go find these review sites, they're going to leave it. But that's why I say it helps to mitigate these potentially negative reviews. The third thing that it's doing, though, is it's actually helping you build up a very, very positive profile with great reviews across the, because if it's in that 8, 9, or 10 category, then the next thing it does is directs them to one of 3 different websites where they can leave a review. It might be Google or Facebook, Healthgrades, or a myriad of others that are out there as well. And as they do that and they click on that, it takes them directly to your profile at that review site where they can now leave that positive review that's going to be there forever and for everyone to enjoy and to see. So it's a great strategy. And again, you need to have this in place. This is absolutely changing the way that people see you and the way that they're going to make their decision today. 81% of identified reviews, 81% of people identified reviews as critical for them to research before selecting a doctor. That came from RealSelf, which is a patient-doctor consumer site where they're able to have questions answered if you're not familiar with RealSelf. And that data just came out in January of 2018. That's a huge number. People are looking at reviews, and I suspect that most of you, because I've asked, again, in lots of these presentations, people read reviews, and it's virtually 100%. People are like, yeah, I go on Amazon all the time. I read all the reviews. I buy things online. I always want to know what people are saying. And so it's no different. They're now doing that for their medical services. They're looking to see what other people are saying about you, and that absolutely feeds into what is happening. So now moving on to social media, which was our 4th pillar. On social media, this is one of my favorite things to talk about, and we actually have an entire presentation that's about an hour long on how to help you succeed with social media. Because the reality is that most doctors, we find about 99% of doctors are actually doing it wrong. They don't understand how to do it properly. They don't understand who their real audience is. And you think about this, why do you go personally on social media if you do? Why do you go on Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or any other site that's out there? Some of you might still be on MySpace, I hope not, but just in case, why do you go on there? And the answer is because you're looking to read the news of your friends and family. You're curious what they're up to. It's a way of staying connected with them. What you're not doing is you're not going on social media to be sold something, to constantly have your newsfeed barraged with information that you don't care about. And that's an important thing to understand as well. It's also important to understand some of the restrictions that are on social media, especially for business, but it applies to people as well. What I mean by that is that Facebook, just taking Facebook as an example, Facebook actually restricts the number of people that see what you have posted online. Meaning that if you were to have 100 followers on your Facebook page, just using round numbers, Facebook will show your content to less than 5% of your audience initially. And if that 5%, if they like it or share it or comment on it within about the first hour, then Facebook says the content that was posted is boring, nobody likes it, don't show it to anybody else. So again, as an example, if you have 100 people who follow you, that means that when you post something on social media, if you're only going to have 5 or less people that are actually going to see that. So if those 5 people don't like or share a comment on that content you posted, it's not going anywhere. No one else is going to see it. Conversely, though, if those people like it, share it, comment on it, then Facebook says, oh, people like this. Let's show it to more people. And now it starts to grow. And now we're actually getting beyond the 100 people, because anytime somebody comments on their friends, their family, they see it as well. And that's how that viral nature starts to grow. So real key piece there is having engaging content. Understanding also that everything about you on the internet is social media. People look at everything about you. They're looking at the reviews, they're looking at your social media. They actually expect you to have a very active presence on social media. It sends a signal to them that you're up to date. It's that, wow, look at this. It's also can be very easy to do. It doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to take hours at a time. But they want you to connect with them in a real way. And this is where it becomes a challenge. People are like, in a real way, that means they want to be like my friend on social media? And it's like, yes. And like, oh gosh, but I want to maintain this professional feel. It's like, yeah, you can do that, but you've got to connect with them the way that they want to be connected with. So again, understanding your audience is critical to this. Let me illustrate what I mean with like one of my favorite slides and favorite little case studies. Everyone is familiar with Progressive Insurance, huge national brand, been around for years. On their Facebook page, they have a little over 343,000 followers. So it's a lot. You'd expect that, again, with their campaigns and everything they do. So let me ask you the question, who is the face of Progressive Insurance today? And if you answered Flo, you're right. So Flo, and think about your mind, how many followers do you think Flo has? And I love asking this because I get all kinds of different answers, but no one's that right. Flo, who, mind you, is a fictional character, has basically 5.5 million followers on this. This is brilliant. Kudos to Progressive. They created this great character who's fun, she's quirky, she's interesting, and has created this huge advertising strategy around this. But what's happened is that people have connected with Flo, and they felt that connection to the tune of 5.5 million followers. Again, people interact with people, not businesses. So within your own business, how do you get personal with that? What are some things that you can do to make that happen? Well, it could be as simple as recognizing, when people have a birthday in your office, taking a picture with them, with a cake or balloons or something you ordered with them, and say, hey, everybody, it's Sally's birthday. Sally could be turning 40, and you say, Sally's 29th birthday. Everybody wish Sally a happy 29th birthday again. And you're having a little fun with it. But people love your office staff, and they see that, and it's a quick way to interact. You might be sponsoring a local event in the community. I'm in one high school town. We love our high school. So whether it's with the swim team, the basketball team, the football team, track, baseball, doesn't matter. The entire town will get behind that. If those of you that live in a major sports town, if you're in Philadelphia right now and they just won the Super Bowl here in February of 2018, anything you post about the Eagles is going to go viral. People are going to be all over that, right? So understanding your audience, understanding your community is another part of that. If you're attending a conference, taking a picture there with either you or with your staff or some other colleagues that you're there with, and saying, hey, here I am in Las Vegas, staying at the Bellagio, learning the latest, greatest techniques on whatever procedures, and excited to bring these back and implement them in my office. When you do that, you immediately are showing that a few things. One is that you're normal, and you go to cool places, and they love that you keep your education up. It sends a lot of different messages to people, and they can relate to that. It's relatable. Oh my gosh, we love Las Vegas, or we love Hawaii, we love this. And so those are just a couple of examples. Again, I've got an entire presentation that talks about this. Happy to share that with you as well. Now, how do you grow your like count? Well, the whole point of this becomes that the more fans that you have, the more potential people you engage. Now, I'm going to add a caveat to that. That is, that do not, under any circumstance, purchase likes for your pages. If you've done this, try to purge those, get rid of them, because what's happened is that you've now decreased that 5% to 3% or 2% or even 1%, depending on how many people you've added. Because if you only have 100 real followers and you've bought another 500, well, when that list goes out to 600, you have actually 400 people that don't care about you or your brand at all. I mean, only 100 that do, but now there's not 5 people that are going to see it. There's only 1 that really cares. So you've really hurt your odds of doing that. So you need to get real people to like you. It really is simple. Set up a strategy in your office. Ask people to like you and to follow you on social media. It's very much a norm today. Your front office staff can do that very easily. There can be, you can encourage people to do it. Let them know you have specials on there that you run on occasion, or different activities. Just make it fun. Keep it light. But this last quote here, or this last stat again, is 90% of those Real Self participants, people that are going to Real Self again, they expect their doctor to be present and active on social media. So love it or hate it, social media is not going away. Now, how can you do this and feel like, oh my gosh, this is one more thing, and it doesn't have to be that burden. That's the message I want to try to convey to you today. If you will take a look at your calendar over the next 6 months or a year, you'll understand, okay, let's take a look at some things. First of all, when is everyone's birthday? What about work anniversaries? Do we have anybody getting married? Any babies being born? What conferences are we attending? Are there any special holidays that are out there? Are there events that we're sponsoring? Are there other things we're going to? And if you'll put together this calendar and really take a look at it, now for 20 minutes a week, you can actually even say, oh, we already planned that. We should make sure we have our picture ready to go, and we can post. Now, one of the things that we do at Advice Media is we offer social media as a solution. We call it our social power. Following you, hopefully you're starting to get this power suite. So social power is where we post for you 3 times a week on Facebook and Google+. And the reason we do that is that Facebook is still one of the biggest, also the primary area where your main audience is today. And we're talking about individuals between the ages of 28 and 45, and it's actually growing that end spectrum. My mother recently Facebook friended me, and that's great. But again, the older group is there, and these are the ones that have money. So you want to connect there. We don't have Instagram personally. We want you to, because there's not a simple way for us to actually do. You have to go into each account and log in each time and do it. There's not tools to actually manage that as an agency right now, but that might be something we're able to do in the future. We also do Google+, and not that it's used as frequently as Facebook, nor will it ever be, nor will it be the same thing, but you have to understand that Google loves its own products. So can't neglect Google+. We have to recognize it's a very powerful tool and has to be included in the mix of everything that we do. So we do that. But the key is that consistency, where we post 3 times a week. Google loves that. And it really helps your search engine optimization. So we say, look, let us post 3 times a week for you, and you post a couple times, once or twice a week. Doesn't have to be hard. And if you'll do that, we're going to accomplish the goals that we need in order for you to be active and engaging on social media. Again, we're here to help you and make this really a reality. So now we've talked about these foundation principles. We've talked about the local power, we talked about review power, and we talked about social power. Again, that power suite. And those are the key elements that happen. And we actually take our websites and actually lower the price down significantly and bundle those in with those, recognizing that the website's important, but the digital marketing is even more important, and making sure that foundation through the Power Suite is all in place. Now, beyond that, we get into what we call our Power Suite Plus areas, and this is where we get into the advanced search engine optimization and into the paid search. So I'm going to talk about advanced SEO strategies and really where this comes from. When we understand and kind of taking a background of who is Google, where did they come from, and how do we really play their game, if you will? Well, Google was started by a couple of guys that were going to Stanford. They were working on a senior project and riding their bikes to, from their garage where they were doing some stuff, and they were going to the Stanford library. They had this idea that gosh, wouldn't it be cool if we could digitize the books here so that we don't have to go through the card stacks? And some of you will remember going through the card stacks at the library. Well, again, if we can digitize this, we'll make it a lot easier. And so that was the whole concept behind their search algorithm. It was about content from day one. And they built this amazing algorithm for it, and it was a phenomenal tool. And they actually tried to go and sell this to Netscape and Yahoo, and for $1 million. And they said, no, we don't need that. And the irony is that Yahoo recently sold pennies on the dollar to Verizon. You know, they're struggling, and we know what a huge conglomerate Google has become, so they got the last laugh. But Google has continued to evolve over time. You know, as that started, we as marketing companies could actually outsmart them in many ways. We were, what was creating thousands of backlinks from random places, we could do that, and we could actually have our doctors ranking in like a New York City for a breast augmentation was one of the most sought after procedures. Page one, didn't matter, next day, yeah, you could do it. We had ways of embedding content on the site that would actually match the same background color and stuff it with key terms. We do things, we stuff key terms in the footer of every website. And over time, Google would kind of catch up a little bit, and they would slap us on the wrist and say, hey, don't do that anymore, we're catching up to you. And we knew it was always going to be about content, but they actually weren't quite there yet, and the web browsers weren't there yet. So we were loving life as marketing companies to be ahead of Google in this game. But in about 2007, 2008, the game changed significantly. Google's technology had evolved so much, and they actually made a major change to their algorithm in 2008. A couple of them actually that impacted everything that marketing companies were doing. They had been warning about it for a while, and luckily we had adjusted our strategies before then. We saw a lot of our competitors that didn't, and were penalized significantly when these changes came out. It was like, we've warned you, we've slapped you on the hand a few times, and now with the ability to destroy you if you haven't followed our rules. Again, they are the rule maker, and we follow them. But what they were looking for was to have great content. They want the user experience, which I talked about before. They want to be very rich. They want it so that when you search online for a dental crown, you're not finding something completely unrelated to what you're searching for. They want it to be that you find information relevant to what you're looking for. And that means you come back more. And the more that you come back, the more that they're able to put targeted ads in front of you, the more you're likely to click on those, buy things. And again, this is where Google makes their money. So this is not some philanthropic effort on Google's part to give us, Gmail and Google Drive and all these, Google Maps for free. No, they are about creating that great user experience, but at the end of the day, they're about making money. So we have to understand where they're coming from as well. But what we have to do is we have to look for ways to feature, distribute, and promote content. The former head of Google Search, his name's Matt Cutts. Matt came out a few years ago when he was still with Google and said that Google's favorite website on the entire web, and I'll let you think about what you think that is. I can tell you it's not a shopping site, it's not a social media website, and it's not Google itself. He said Google's favorite website is Wikipedia. So if you've been to Wikipedia, you recognize that here is content that's constantly evolving. It's very robust. It continues to change over time. Users are commenting on it. So there's a lot of contributing factors. It has imagery as well. So all these pieces build into it. So if we understand that and the importance that of Wikipedia being this top site, then our question should be, how do I become the Wikipedia website for the procedures I offer in my local area? That's the question. How do I become essentially the Wikipedia for my services in my area? And you do that by having great content and following Google's strategies. So I'm going to outline some of these for you and even get just a little bit technical for you to help you understand some of these. So first of all, the proper content structuring that takes place. You want to make sure that you're covering your topic well. It's not about just stuffing keywords in. It's about being really robust on the information, helping people understand what it is that you're talking about. And one of the easiest ways to do this is to put your content in a question and answer format. I'm going to share with you right now a strategy that if this is the only thing you took away from this presentation, this would be worth every second you've spent listening to this, because this content strategy is very, very powerful, and I recommend it to everybody. People sometimes ask, like, Chad, how many times can people write about dental veneers or Mami makeover? Well, a lot, because we all use a different syntax in the way that we speak. We have slightly different ways of doing things, and that makes the content unique. So the recommendation is this. You take out of a paper, type it, write it, whatever. But you write down all the procedures and services that you offer. Okay, first step, write down all the procedures and services you offer. Next, you make an outline. And what I mean by that is you take a look at each one of those services or procedures, and now write down the 7 to 10 questions you get asked by patients about that every single day. Now, the critical piece of that is that you have to write down the question in the way that the patient asks you for that information. Not the way you think about it, not doctor speak, but the way that they ask you. Because I can guarantee that before they've asked you that question in your office, they've already asked Google that same question. How long will this procedure last? What is the cost of this procedure? What are the risks of this procedure? All these different questions you get asked all day long. What's the recovery time? What do I need to be on medication? Do I need bed rest? All these questions are coming up. So if you answer those, great. So you've got that list now. Now the easy part comes in. You pull out your phone. Every phone has a recording app on there. If not, you can download it very simply. And now you record yourself talking as though you were speaking with a patient, and you answer every one of those questions recording. For our clients, we'll actually send that audio content out for transcription. It's that important. We know it's going to really benefit them, so we'll absolutely do that for them. Excuse me. Next is that we take that content and we code it properly on the website into what some people call chunks. The first thing that shows up is the H1 tag. This is H stands for header. So the header 1 becomes really the title of your page, if you will. So if it's dental veneers that you do, well, then that page is going to be about dental veneers, and we're going to put that on there, and likely with your location as well, against that page title. And you only want one H1 on every one of your pages. One of the biggest mistakes that we see as we go in and evaluate websites is that we'll see multiple elements on the site or areas coded as H1. You want one title to the page. Secondly is you want H2s or H3s, and they can be bulleted areas, they could be support elements, could be subheadings. H2s in the situation I've described become each of those questions or statements that you've done, and then the content below it becomes more of an H3 type content. Again, I'm talking about very advanced search engine optimization strategies, but if you will follow this, you'll see amazing results happen. You'll see your website shoot up on the search rankings because of this. Content is not just limited to the written word, and that's what we often think about, but you need to be thinking also about images, your videos, you think about other downloadable information like a PDF. That's all content. It really keeps your content in a diverse format. You want to have social media integration on your pages, whether it's the ability for someone to share it or for them to get to your social media. Both are critical. And then you want to make sure that you also have that location information on your pages as well that we talked about before, that NAP score, that name, address, and phone number. You really want to have that embedded in there. Lastly, is you want to have contextual links to other related procedures. So if, for example, the page was about breast augmentation, well, then a contextual link that would be related to that would be a breast augmentation with a lift. Another one would be a Mami makeover or liposuction. So those are related procedures to that, again, that people might be looking for. And so that becomes another way to keep people engaged in your content and continuing to read things that are there. So all those are really important. Now, as we're talking about content and how do we grow that, one of the things I want you to understand is the importance of video. And thinking about this is critical. So I don't know if you knew this or not, but YouTube is actually the second largest search engine behind Google. So it's bigger than Yahoo, bigger than Bing, and YouTube is actually owned by Google. So Google effectively owns the #1 and #2 search engines online today. So YouTube is very, very powerful. And people watch videos all the time. It's easy to consume the information. It instills a ton of confidence in everything they do. These numbers I'm going to share with you now were shared with us just recently by Google on some of the usage stats as they pertain to healthcare, and will I think, blow your mind when you see some of these. But 56% of patients are searching for a health concern directly on YouTube today. Again, they're looking for that information. They're looking for that empowerment, and when they can find those videos, it helps them. It really instills that confidence, and people would much rather watch a video than just digest information. So that's where it is. So think about that. Do you have video strategy? I'm not going to get into that on this presentation and talk about that. That's not my purpose today, but I do want to help you understand the important nature of video. And that's to be difficult. Every one of you has a great video recorder in your pocket or your purse. Pull out your phone. You've got the tools on there also to have a very simple intro and outro with your branded logo on there. And the ability to then actually upload it directly from your phone to YouTube exists today. And then you can take that and embed that video from YouTube on your website, which is what you want to do for a number of reasons. One is that it now is playing somewhere else. Two is that you have the ability to have that content have closed captioning added on that video, which gives you more content and helps you grow, which is very, very powerful. This blew me away. In fact, I had to call Google for clarification on the 3 billion searches on YouTube for health. And I said, 3 billion. And I said, is that like since YouTube started? They're like, oh no, we should have clarified that. 3 billion searches on YouTube happened last year. Let that sink in. 3 billion health searches on YouTube last year alone. So you absolutely have to have video as part of your content strategy today. People are looking for this, they expect it, and it's going to help you rank higher and be more visible in more places. Again, not just on Google, but on YouTube as well, recognizing that that's going to drive traffic in, as well as it's going to help in your patient generation and patient conversion. It's why we talk about all these. Again, back to the patient generation, patient conversion, each and every time. Now, for our last section today, we're going to talk about paid search and Google AdWords. And I'm not getting into the specifics today on how to do that and all the various elements, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about this so you understand, how does this function? Does it really work? So I get asked a lot. People are like, well, nobody really clicks on those ads, right? And the answer is wrong. You have to understand that Google made 89.5 billion, that's billion with a B, in 2016. 2017 numbers actually have not been released yet, as we're recording this here in the middle of February 2018. So we're waiting for those new numbers to come out. Guaranteed they're going to be higher, but 89.5 billion. 90% of that revenue comes from paid advertisements. That's where they make the bulk of their money. So it has to be working. There's enough people out there that are clicking on those and working, and the data backs that up as well. So the recent data that has come out is a huge shift over where people searched previously. We used to be about, maybe 15 to 20% of people actually clicked on the ads. And when they clicked on those paid advertisements that you see, they would do it when they were in a transactional mindset, meaning they'd been searching for maybe that camera or that pair of shoes or that clutch, one of that new purse, whatever it was, and they're looking for that, and they're like, oh, there it is, click, 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 make that purchase done. And that was how that it would work. And it was easy to find a big yellow box at the top that said, paid, and then it changed to little yellow boxes, and then all of a sudden it's moved to sometimes being 5 to 7 listings before you get to the organic that are paid. And continues to evolve. Google continues to look at habits and where people go and where their cursor goes and where their eye movement goes. They heat map this. It's a very complicated and complex type of scenario, but if done well, works extremely well. We're seeing now that 50% of online clicks are related to some type of paid advertisement. What's happening and the shift that's taken place and why we're seeing that grow is that people will click on those paid ads now as they're beginning their research, which is completely different than what it used to be. Again, recognizing that it's not just when they're ready to buy, it's at the beginning of that research cycle. What people are seeing and the subconscious message you're sending to them is that if someone's willing to spend money to be in one of those top spots, then that content must be related to what I'm looking for. Again, going back to that enhanced user experience, but also they don't have to scroll down as far. Google's kind of forcing people to do that, saying we're going to put so many paid ads up there that you're going to want to click on one of those as opposed to scrolling down further on the page. So that's part of what's taken place as well. So again, it's very, very impactful and meaningful. But let me tell you this: when somebody can do paid advertisements right on Google, it pays huge, huge dividends. I've got clients that spend a couple $1,000s a month, and what they're looking for again is that minimum of 3-to-1 return on their investment. I've got clients that spend over $20,000, $30,000 a month. You're like, oh my gosh, who could ever do that? Well, in the right industry you can. When you think about if somebody charges $20,000 for a facelift, and you can get 3 or 4 facelifts a month because of that, well, that's a huge return on your investment. Show me where else you can spend $1 and make a return of 10 times that, 10 times that in a month. It's huge if done right. You can also lose a lot of money if you don't do it properly. But again, what we're seeing is Google pushing towards this. You're going to see more and more happening towards this. Facebook is another area where paid ads can work very well. Again, what they're doing is that they're collecting so much information on us that they allow us to now, as advertisers, target in the right people. We know the demographic of the area where they live. We can target zip codes of more affluent areas if that's what you would like. We can charge. We can do the search and put the ads in front of people within a certain age bracket. If you want to go after females that are between this age because that's your target audience, you can do that. Recognizing, well, the moms make the health decisions in most families, well, and that's the group to target more. So again, we help facilitate that. We help do the ads. We do A/B testing on the ads to make sure that we're always maximizing the return for that. Now let me kind of back up just a little bit on everything we've talked about to kind of summarize everything we've talked about today. And what really makes Advice Media different, and again, putting that down as item number 7, if you will, and again, that was that shameless plug, but in all seriousness, helping you understand why we are different and why you would want to work with us. First of all, the experience goes back to 1998. Understand that having done this a long time, we understand this industry very well. We're also an innovative thought leader. We were the first company in this space to begin offering mobile responsive websites. I recall being at a conference and our competition was like, why are you doing that? It takes forever. Nobody's going to use that. Everybody just wants these M.dot or mobile dot websites, and they're going to use those instead. And we'd recognized that Google had been coming out saying it's going to be pushed towards mobile responsive. And the reality was the browsers really couldn't support them very well. It would take a long time to build them, but we were committed to that. And we stayed the course. And because we did, and we were so far out in front of our competition, we blew them away. I mean, a couple of years later, they're all scrambling, like trying to figure this out. And we'd already figured those pieces out. That's what we're constantly doing that. We take this comprehensive marketing approach very, very seriously. And that's why you'll see this very logical step through from our local power to review power to social power, and then getting into our Power Suite Plus packages with the advanced search engine optimization and pay-per-click. Again, recognizing that it's not a one-size-fits-all, but also recognizing the importance of getting it right and making that happen. We also see ourselves as a consultative partner. When there's a new product that's being offered, we're asking about that because we're up to date on new things that are coming out in the industry. We're also letting you know about changes that are happening in the digital marketing space. Whether we're talking about, hey, let's talk about increasing your conversions by adding online chat and text features. We're going to talk about that. We're going to share with you things that are working to help you be more successful. Again, we see ourselves as a partner. We know you don't have all day to think about these things and worry about them. You want to be the best doctor at what you're doing, and we want to help you be successful. Again, with our proven track record over the last almost 20 years now, it's huge. We're in our 20th year. And then that scalable infrastructure, what I mean by this is we have an office in Park City, Utah, which is our home base. We also have an office in Long Island, New York, in Melville. Because of those two locations, we're able to really grow appropriately. We know how that works. We also have the facilities to do that. And we understand that at certain thresholds, when we need to hire more bodies, because we've already mapped that out, so that we're never behind. One of the biggest frustrations we've heard from people is saying, well, I was with this company, all of a sudden they grew, and I couldn't get hold of anybody anymore. They weren't taking care of my stuff. That doesn't happen with us because of knowing those pieces in advance. We already know that. Lastly, not lastly, but this next one is the systems and strategies. As I mentioned earlier, we've really spent a lot of time retooling what we're doing at Advice Media. Give you a little more in-depth understanding of that. We started to take a look at what was changing in the industry, and we recognized that websites in and of themselves were becoming more and more commoditized. That you'll see these other websites out there, whether it's a Wix or a Squarespace, saying, hey, you can do this yourself, and on the surface they kind of look nice. And there's a perception out there that, well, everybody's got a buddy that can do a website, whether it's their kid now, whether it's a patient's son, whether it's a friend of a friend. It seems like everybody can do a website. And while that's true, and that's not going away, the reality is that not all websites are created equal. But what that forced us to do at Advice Media was to evaluate our process and our strategy. And we spent a lot of money and a lot of time building, retooling all of our internal components, allowing us to now build amazing websites at a fraction of the cost and getting out websites in 30 days or less. And that has only happened because of an amazing staff here that was committed to that effort to make that happen. What that does now is allows us to reduce that cost significantly and put it in with our digital marketing bundles, recognizing that, listen, you need an amazing website, but you don't need to spend years working this. We hear people all the time, oh my gosh, I've been working on my new website for a year or 2 years and I still haven't done anything. We have made the process so simple that you don't have to worry about it. We involve you as little as possible, and we do all the heavy lifting for you. Because the real important part is that we have the great website that's working, but the digital marketing component that's driving the new patients into your practice is there. That's what matters. And then we're also on top of all the best practices. We send our staff to the most advanced workshops and training throughout the country and online webinars to make sure that we're always up to date and providing you with the best information. And lastly, as I mentioned, we're in Park City, Utah, so we're very proud of our skiing and what's here and what we have to offer. We also have powder days. So when we get 6 inches of snow, after the lifts close on a day and before they open the next morning, we actually have our employees go out and ski and enjoy the beautiful outdoors. We also have a Visit Me Ski for Free program. So for those of you who enjoy skiing and have been to Park City before, or if you haven't been, doesn't matter, give us a call. Let us know you're coming to town. We'd love to take you out, show you our town, give you some ideas on places to eat, and then take you up on the mountain and ski with you for a day. So happy to do that, and we'll even buy one of your lift passes. So with that in mind, if you have any questions, please call us at 435-200-1018, or you can email us at sales@advicemedia.com, and we can have one of our sales consultants get in touch with you and do an evaluation for you, help you understand where your citations are today, what issues you might exist with your marketing, where those blind spots are, and how we help you overcome those. We're here to help you and to really be, again, that partner for you to make sure that you're successful with everything that you're doing in your practice, and look forward to hearing from you and working with you in the future. Wish you all the best.